is from another manual or no speaking manual at all, 13 to 15 minutes, successful club series, evaluate to motivate. Our president, Mr. Aaron.
When you're a speaker, you always want to go first, so you don't have to follow up when somebody speaks before you. So, well, great job, Paul. The Successful Club series is a series of speeches that Toastmasters International puts together, and the purpose is to improve the quality of club meetings. And the one I'm going to be presenting tonight is called Evaluate to Motivate. And it sheds light on the importance of speech evaluations and how to present them. And I'm going to be putting my evaluator, Megan Rugg, on the spot because this is her first evaluation, but I think she's seen enough speeches, seen enough evaluations to know what to look for. I think she has a keen mind too, so no problem. You got it. You got it in the bag. So here's what Toastmasters does. They basically build an outline and you can present with a presentation. I've chosen to go without the presentation tonight. They say that the more effective we are in evaluating each other, the more each of one of us will profit from the experience, whether we are delivering a speech, evaluating, or sitting in the audience. For as audience members, that's you guys, we learn from the good example and effective evaluation presents. As evaluators, we learn to sharpen our listening and impromptu speaking skills. And as speakers, effective evaluations ultimately benefit us, and I'll go into those in 1 second. If you think about it, it's a bit like table topics in the sense that it's kind of impromptu. Granted, after I'm done, Megan will have some time to jot down some notes in the form that I gave her, and then prepare essentially a 3-minute speech. No more than 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. So it's a little longer than table topics itself. So here's some benefits that evaluations give to us. It provides immediate feedback. It says that supportive commentary and helpful suggestions reinforce positive speaking behaviors, as well as assist in focusing on areas that need work. Well, it's not exactly immediate, is it? I have to wait a little bit, but once that evaluation comes to me, immediately I can think about what I'm doing in the speech right now, the words I'm fumbling over, and eye contact that I'm not maintaining, and then I can immediately work on that whenever my evaluator brings it to my attention. The second benefit is that it offers methods for improvement. It says an evaluator can offer a new perspective. This perspective will allow the presenter to recognize and then solve any difficulties within the presentation. And the third and final benefit is building and maintaining self-esteem. As the presenter speaking improves from speech to speech, more self-esteem will be gained. And I think that is the last and most important benefit, is that it builds self-esteem. Has anyone ever visited the High Noon Toastmasters Club? What I've heard is that they're very formal. I think they address each other by their last name, so not Mr. and Mrs. so forth and so on, maybe doctor in some cases. And as a new member, if you have some fears and some insecurity, being in such a formal environment, from what I've heard from some people that have visited that club, is that it's very intimidating, and that as a result, they get scared off. So I think it's very important that while we don't want to be disingenuous, we also don't want to tear down someone's self-esteem so that when they're done, they not only get the improvement, but they have the positive reinforcement to go, gosh, I did okay, I can do a lot better, and I'm looking forward to it thanks to my evaluation. Toastmasters recommends that we use the tell and sell approach. That's where I, the speaker, sit down and shut up. And the listener, evaluator, stands up and speaks. The first part of that is that it requires the evaluator to do all the talking while the speaker listens. So this provides a great opportunity for the evaluator to have a speaking role during a meeting. The second is that it makes the meeting efficient, leaving no time for conversational digression. In the Advanced Toastmasters Club, which Roger and Stills are a part of, and I don't think anybody else in here, what's called a round-robin evaluation portion. They meet once a month for 2 hours. After you receive your CC manual, you should join the club. It's really good. You can get more speeches in. And while the round-robin session is really good, because it's very informal, people go around, you get more feedback than just your one designated evaluator. Here, it's very structured and part of the agenda for the evaluator to give the evaluation straight to the speaker. And so, it can be a drawback not to have a round-robin evaluation, but the way it's structured is very efficient for this meeting type. The third thing about this tell and sell approach is that it allows the speaker to focus on what's being said. I get to be quiet, forget everything in the world, and think about what I just did when I gave my speech and focus in on what I need to improve on. The fourth and final part of the tell and sell approach is that new members should not evaluate until they've conducted several speeches. We're obviously going a little bit away from that, but I think being presented with a challenge is kind of like you've been hitting the gym for a while, right? And you're still using those 45-pound barbells. Eventually, you're not going to see any more results. And so I think in this situation, what Megan's doing is she's putting on a little extra weight and going to get a lot stronger after this performance, I guarantee you. So let's ask ourselves a question. How can we evaluate effectively? Toastmasters International says that giving an evaluation is an excellent way to demonstrate the skills you are learning as a Toastmaster. And there's 5 basic points to remember when offering an evaluation. Before the speech, I don't agree with what they're about to suggest, word for word. And I'll give you my slant on that. It says, before the speech, review and discuss the manual objectives and evaluation guidelines. Ask about any concerns regarding the speech or the speaker's speaking ability. Oftentimes, in reality, we show up 5-10 minutes before the meeting, or we're coming in right as it's starting, and we don't have time to get with the speaker and say, what are your concerns with the speech? What do you want to be working on, right? And so I think, more importantly, more pragmatically, the speaker needs to approach the evaluator and say something like, last time I had 27 ums. Watch me. Or, my eye contact is not very connecting. I'm like Condoleezza Rice, where I just move around, look down, come up, and move down, and come around. Instead of, and so I might be aware of that, and so I'll tell my evaluator, make sure, watch for my eye contact. Am I holding it long enough and getting intimate with the people in the audience, and are they connected with me? Okay. So speakers do that before the speech, and if you're evaluating and you really want to harp on somebody that isn't learning and benefiting from the evaluations they've been getting, approach the speaker and say, this is what I'm going to be watching for. The second way to evaluate effectively is show that you are interested. And what better way for Megan to show that she's interested than to evaluate a speech about evaluations? It's kind of forced, isn't it? I don't know how that happened, you know, the odds, like the lottery, the 1 to 9. So demonstrate that you're truly interested in the speech. I think showing up is, what's the saying? Showing up in life is half the battle, or something like that. And exhibit your interest in the speaker's ability to grow and improve. I've only been in Toastmasters for, 13, 14 months, something like that. My math is bad, I think it's actually 16. But I've still got a lot of room to improve. Right now you might not be able to tell, but I have cotton in my mouth, or it feels that way anyways, right? So there are ways I can improve. Maybe that's just a physiological response. But there are other things like looking down instead of maintaining eye contact. See, I'm giving myself evaluations just by speaking about it. I'm already learning faster than the robots in Terminator Judgment Day. Okay, Skynet. Skynet. The computer's still learning to take over the world. The third way to effectively evaluate is to personalize your language. Put yourself in the position of the speaker before you give your evaluation. So stay away from words like you didn't, you shouldn't have, or you failed to. There's 2 parts to this. It is that you're saying you, when you're talking to the the speaker. And the second part is that it's negative and not positive. And so stay away from things like that. And what should you do instead? To stimulate improvement, use words like, I believe, my reaction was, I suggest. These are actionable words. And it also brings to that speaker your point of view, and I think will make connection between you and the speaker, and it's less accusatory. And keep the evaluator's mantra in mind to maximize your skills. That's what you saw, what you heard, and what you felt. So what you're seeing right now, me moving around under the bright lights. What you hear is me taking advantage of these walls that reflect my voice really well, so I don't have to speak as loud. Have you ever been listening to a speech where somebody's speaking and they speak too loud and the whole time your ears are ringing? That happened to me 2 weeks ago. And it was a very small room, and the guy for some reason wanted to scream at us. And he was very didactic, so I didn't understand. And then, Stellis does that a lot.
So, yeah.
But then what you feel, I think there's a take-home message. This is a canned speech from Toastmasters International. But I think you can feel something, perhaps, not as much as when Paul was talking about the focus of gun control instead of mental health issues. This speech isn't going to pull you in, pull at your heartstrings like that. But it can break us away from the routine of coming to an evaluation, get up and talk, sit back down. We can be introspective, reflective right now, and think about how we really give effective evaluations. The fourth part to evaluate effectively is evaluate the speech and not the person. When I first read this, it didn't really jive with me too well, because I always want the person to improve. But I think that's, if you evaluate the speech, it's a means to an end, so the person will ultimately improve. They say, always keep your main purpose in mind, to support, help, and encourage the speaker. Pay attention to the speaker's goals for self-improvement. What are my goals? I want to make eye contact a little bit better with my audience, right, Sujay? Call people out, like the focus away on me. And watch for symptoms of fear or insecurity. Have you noticed I've been at a 90-degree, like Condoleezza Rice again? And so watch for symptoms of fear or insecurity. Evaluate what the speaker does, not what the speaker is. So even whether they're brand new giving an icebreaker, or they're a distinguished Toastmaster presenting a nearly flawless speech, watch what they do, not who they are. And so don't get distracted there. The fifth way to evaluate effectively is to promote self-esteem. I mentioned this earlier, and I think this is really important. Nisha, Sujay, and I, this past weekend, were at officers training, hosted by the District 43, which we're in. And they presented some facts that were very startling, that often new members will fall away from Toastmasters because they're not getting what they need from the club officers and what the club provides. Maybe the club's not providing a good atmosphere or something like that. So I think it's very important to provide and promote and build up someone's self-esteem, especially if they're up here and their legs are shaking, their hands are shaking, and maybe their voices, whatever, they forget their speech. Guilty, I've done that before. And so provide self-esteem so that they don't get discouraged and ultimately go somewhere else, because they're not going to develop the speaking and leadership skills the same way watching Family Guy. Gotcha. I'd rather be here on Monday nights. I think TBS is Monday night Family Guy. I miss that show. So encourage and inspire the speaker to participate, again, by giving honest and sincere praise, positive reinforcement when improvements occur, and helpful direction when necessary. And always end your evaluations positively. Think of a solid closing like you would in a regular speech. And don't be disingenuous. Don't always say just good things. You want them to improve, but you want to package it like a nice Christmas present with a nice glossy wrapping and a bow and the whole 9 yards. do in Toastmasters begins tonight with Megan's evaluation of me. My fate is in your hands.